Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing good today, and thanks for tuning into the channel. And hey, before we get started, just really want to thank everybody that has been, part of this adventure so far on YouTube with me, and I really appreciate everybody that's taking the time to subscribe and like the videos and comment on the videos. It's really rewarding to be able to, share stuff that I've learned my entire career, and to have people really want to get that information, because I love teaching people how to fish if people are eager and really want the information. I know over, the course of my career, I've tried to teach some people how to fish, but unless somebody is really passionate and sincere about learning, it's just sort of a waste of time. And I just really feel that everybody that's taken the time to subscribe to my channel, is one of those passionate anglers that, really appreciates the information. So just a big thanks to everybody that subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd invite you to do so, because it really makes it possible for me to take the time to do these videos. So anyway, today's video, it actually came from a comment from one of the subscribers that I got this evening. And it was, thanks Don for the question, for the idea. And, one of my subscribers, he asked to basically talk about team tournament strategies. And, this is a great question, because that's how I got started in tournament fishing. That's how I worked my way up through the ranks to be able to fish professionally, was fishing team circuits. And, throughout the course of my career, I've still got a lot of buddies that fish team tournaments. So I've really followed team tournaments for over 40 years, and really analyzed, what it takes to do good and what it takes to win tournaments. So I just really wanted to share with you guys some tips that I know about that has helped me win some team tournaments, that's helped my buddies win team tournaments. And, I think it's going to really change your game a lot if you sort of adopt some of these techniques. But, team tournaments are a lot different than, regular bass tournaments, because most of them, like I said, it's, you're fishing a circuit. And you're, trying to qualify for end of the year championship, but the whole format obviously is different than the draw, format circuit. And also the reward versus the investment is a lot different. In the team tournaments, like a lot of the regular tournaments, you have top heavy payouts, but even more so in the team tournaments. And in a lot of the team tournaments, at least in this part of the country, a lot of them give away a boat for first prize, like in the championships. Some of them even give away boats every tournament, depending upon the series. I know there's one in Oklahoma that gives away a boat every tournament. So what this does is it really forces you to have a different strategy in team tournaments than you do regular draw tournaments. Because in regular professional draw tournament competition, you have a lot on the line besides just winning the tournament. I mean, you've got the consistency in qualifying for those championships, and the residual, sponsorships that come with that it's a lot different, and it's a lot greater in the pro ranks than it is in the team tournament circuits. You don't really have that variable there. So therefore, winning the tournament in a team circuit is the #1 goal, because you don't, as long as you qualify for that championship that you're fishing, you're going to have a chance to win that boat. And a lot of the team circuits, around the country, they basically got a deal where you qualify for the end of the year championship, just by fishing all the tournaments. So the big difference is that you have to shift your mentality in team tournaments to winning those tournaments. And that takes a little bit of a strategy change, is what I want to talk about today a little bit. And I had a chance early on in my career to fish with one of the top, well, actually, in my opinion, he's one of the top fishermen in the United States. Definitely one of the dominating figures in Missouri, named Terry Thomas. And Terry, he won a ton of buddy events throughout his career here in Missouri. I had a chance to fish a couple buddy tournaments with him. We did really good, won one tournament. And I learned so much about the mentality shift that is required when you're fishing a team circuit. You have to shift your way of thinking into catching the quality fish all the time. And this is what the difference is from the strategy of fishing a draw type tournament to a team tournament is you're not fishing for points. You're fishing to win the tournament. Because if you don't win the tournament, you're not going to hardly win any money at all. You're going to donate to somebody that does. So the question is what do you do, to change that mentality? A lot of it goes with your preparation and your practice and your game plan leading up to the tournament. One of the things that I would suggest in every tournament is to do your research on the lake that you're going to fish. And most of the lakes that you're fishing, you guys know them pretty good because, you're fishing these local team circuits, so they're lakes you fish all the time. And that even makes it easier. So what you need to do is, like, each season that the tournament is, take some time to study like the winning techniques, the data surrounding what won those tournaments, things that produce the bigger fish at certain times of the year. And that will sort of allow you to form a game plan for your practice period. Most team tournaments, most of the guys I know in the team tournaments I practice for, most people fish like 1 day of practice. Some guys two, but most guys just only get 1 day of practice, maybe not even any. But assuming that you get like the 1 day of practice, here's some tips for you that's going to help you out. That you've got to spend all your time focusing on the areas and the techniques and the baits that will produce the winning fish. And any lake that you go to across the country, there's really just a handful of techniques that are going to win a tournament. Because, say for example, if you're fishing a team tournament down at Sam Rayburn, and depending upon the conditions that you're fishing, you're going to have the variables of flipping bushes at some times. You're going to have the variables of, fishing, some type of grass cover, and then the variable fishing some type of hard structure. One of those three patterns is probably going to win most of the tournaments. So whatever lake that you're going to have, you need to identify what those winning patterns are and spend your time totally looking for those type of fish. And the advantage and the disadvantages of this, when you focus on areas that basically have big fish in them and techniques that have big fish, you've got a tremendous high risk, high rewards scenario that unfolds with that. And that's the nature of winning tournaments. Because what happens is, like, I can go to about any tournament that I go to, I've got a pretty good feel, and I'm pretty correct most of the time of how I think that tournament's going to get won. But just because I think that I know how it's going to get won doesn't mean I'm going to win the tournament. Because say, for example, say we have a tournament down at Grand Lake in June, and I know the tournament down there is probably going to get won, fishing deep with a crankbait, maybe fishing deep with a big worm, and say I do it for my entire practice day or two or whatever I've got, and I don't get any bites, yet I go up in the bushes and I get 25 flipping bites in 2 or 3 hours. It makes it very difficult to go back out there and do something that I know the tournament's going to get won doing if I can't get any bites out of it. So that's what you have to do. This is the big mentality shift when you're trying to strategize in your team tournaments, is identify what you feel is going to produce the big fish, and you have to totally commit to that way of fishing, regardless of the outcome. If you practice your practice day and you're fishing the way that you think it's going to get won and you don't catch them, you have to have that ability to go into the tournament and continue pursuing that pattern into the tournament. You can change areas and that type of stuff, but you still have to stay with those baits that will produce bigger fish. And that's the hardest thing in team tournament fishing to do, is to force something to work that is not working for you at the time. So that is why a lot of the people that win tournaments, a lot of these guys that win tournaments, a lot of team tournaments, you see them all over the place. They'll win a tournament one time, they're down close to the bottom sometimes, and that's because they're committing to these big fish techniques. So that's number one. The strategy is you got to fish for those big fish, you got to look for those big fish, and you got to fish for those techniques that'll produce it. The second thing I want to talk about when you're strategizing in team tournaments is how the two people are fishing together in the boat. Just because you're in a team tournament, don't assume that both of you have to be in front of the boat, because bass fishing in a team tournament scenario is all about maximizing the angles. And the best advice that I would give you in that is like, you're all over the boat. In a team tournament, in certain situations, both of you guys should be all over the place. There should be, you might run to the back and fish for 25 minutes, fish in the middle of the boat, fish in the front of the boat, wherever you can capitalize on the best angle from the structure and the cover that you're fishing is where you need to be. Don't feel like you guys got to both be up front all the time. If one person, say for example, if you're paralleling a bluff or something like that, tight on the bank, there's no need for both of you to be up on the bank, up on the front deck, casting parallel to that bluff, because you're basically just going to eliminate the efficiency of one of the anglers. The other person needs to be in the back of the boat, maybe casting straight behind the boat, you know, coming at it at a different angle. And that can be with whatever you do. It could be flipping, it could be whatever. Give those fish a different angle, because ideally what you're going to have in most team tournaments is you're going to have one angler catch most of the fish, and the other partner is going to hopefully donate a key fish, maybe one or two key fish. Even if it's one key fish, that's a big deal to help win that tournament. So give some time thinking about boat angles, casting angles, you know, that type of stuff. That's going to be a big deal. Next thing you want to consider is fishing pressure. Most big team tournaments that are fishing for boats for championships and in tournaments, they have lots of boats in it. So you have to identify areas that have the potential for winning tournaments that are basically not going to get fish. It's very seldom are you going to win a team tournament off of obvious structure. This all goes back to the first point I was making. When you're talking about developing a strategy about how you practice, not only do you have to practice with big baits, you know, or, you know, the type of baits that produce big fish, big areas, but you also have to fish the type of areas that will not get trashed from fishing pressure, because you can have a great area that's got the potential winning fish on it. Say, for example, it could be a creek channel intersection on Kentucky Lake that's a community hole, but if you have to share that water with a bunch of other boats, it basically neutralizes the potential of that area. So you have to really spend a lot of time thinking and focusing on where you want to fish in the lake, that you might be able to, you know, be off the wall a little bit. And I don't mean you got to run 60 miles up the river to get away from somebody. I'm talking about when you break down a lake, try to identify patterns and structures and you know, habitat that may just be overlooked, or maybe some people won't fish it the way you guys do. So anyway, that's just a few ideas I'm going to give you guys to do that. Like I said, the number one tip I want to give you guys when you're strategizing your tournaments is make a commitment to fish for quality fish. Don't ever stop that. Don't ever pick that shaky head up if you think you need a 12-incher to fill out your limit. Stay with those baits that's going to produce you a 4 or 5 pounder, and you'll stand a lot better chance of winning those tournaments, winning those championships, and taking those boats home. So anyway, that's today's tip. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see y'all later.